What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another WWE review. This time for the pay-per-view WWE Payback 2023. And this was a pretty good. This was pretty good. Yeah. I mean, it was a solid good show. I won't say it was a solid 10 or 9, but it was still up there. But I'm gonna tell you why. They kicked off with Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus. One thing too, it was a lot more promos in the show than usual, but you'll see in a minute. They started off with Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus. They did a little video package, but this was a good opening match. Like I think this match went like 20 to 30 minutes. Like the first 20 or 30 minutes of this pay-per-view was this match, and it was good from bell to bell. Like it was awesome. Like the crowd was into it, I was into it. This might have been the match of the night, like which is a rarity that the very first match of the night is the match is probably the match of the night. That's a rarity with WWE, but it definitely was a solid, good opening. Like you definitely probably could go better, but it was hard to top that. It was hard for any match to follow that, to top that, for real. That's why I said this was probably the match of the night, because it didn't feel like the other matches didn't feel like it topped that or could follow that, for real. Except for maybe one, but it was good. You know, they had some great spots, like the superplex off the from the top. Like Trish, even at her age, she was taking bumps, man. She had a little welt on her head. She took a superplex from the top of the cage position. Like she wanted to do it all. Like she didn't want to be held back. She didn't want nobody to take it easy on her because she was old. She was the older veteran. She wanted to hang in there with the likes of Becky Lynch, and she did. Then she even took a manhandle slam from the top ropes. Zoe Stark was get involved, which was like the only sour spot, I gotta say. Like that was the only thing I have to say about this match. Was the whole purpose of it was to keep Zoe out of the match, and somehow she still found a way to interfere in the match. But it wasn't like throughout the whole match. It was only like in the last 5 or 10 minutes of the match, and she came in there and interfered. Quickly got manhandle slam. Then Trish would get the manhandle slam from the top rope, and pairing 1, 2, 3. Then afterwards, Zoe Stark and Trish Stratus would get into an argument, thus ending their partnership, as Trish Stratus would slap Zoe and berate her, to which Zoe would then get mad and hit her finisher on Trish Stratus. I heard that, I think there's a video on YouTube too. They said afterwards, like Trish got a standing ovation. Next, this is what I mean by promos. John Cena actually came out and cut a promo, and this was like, it was basically welcoming everybody in Pittsburgh to Payback, and how he talked about how we already had a crazy night, started off with that match, and that he said he wanted to keep the fun rolling because he by doing something interesting, because he'd been having his eye on a particular match, and that match was LA Knight versus The Miz, and he basically said that he wanted to spice up that match a little bit by being the guest special referee. This was one or two promos from John Cena. I put up 2 and then realized y'all couldn't see it. So 1 or 2. This was 1 or 2 from John Cena. But yeah, when he said that The Miz would come out in his ring gear and basically berate John Cena for trying to insert himself into the match, and that John Cena basically had some banter back and forth with John Cena asking, since he's been a guest host and all that type of stuff before for WrestleMania and all that, he asked The Miz for advice. And he said that he told The Miz that, well, the Miz finding Cade, they gave him some advice to tell him like he was wearing the wrong attire, and that he got to take charge because so far he sucked because it's just been chaotic and all that type of stuff. But then eventually, and he said, but the one that you can't do is insert yourself into my match. But John Cena would communally be like, okay, it was this. I hear you. I got to take charge. I got to do all this, which means I need to insert myself into your match as the special guest referee. He said no, but this will eventually will happen, and LA Knight will come out, and thus this will transition from this promo to LA Knight versus The Miz, and which was a good match. This was the second match of the night, and it was not as good. That's why I started saying this is where like it was kind of hard to follow the opening match, which was Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch. I forgot to mention too, before I get too carried away, that one of the best spots in that match was that both Becky and Trish paid homage to Victoria and Lita by hitting both Trish hit Victoria's Widow's Peak, and Becky Lynch hit Lita's Twist of Fate to pay homage, because if y'all don't know, the very first time they did that in WWE with two women in the steel cage match, those was the two women, Victoria and Lita. So they paid tribute to the first two women to ever have a steel cage match. Just throwing that out there because I forgot to mention that when I was talking about the match. But now back to LA Knight versus The Miz, which is, like I said, it was a tough act to follow. They had some good spots. The majority of the entertainment came from the bickering with John Cena, as both LA Knight and The Miz at separate moments was getting ready to fight with The Miz, with John Cena. But in the end, the LA Knight would get the victory over The Miz. But it seemed like it's a potential why John Cena is on this 7 days, or I think 2 months of just being in WWE again. Probably have a potential match. I heard it could be a potential match for LA Knight and Cody Rhodes. And John Cena would show him respect at the top of the cage. They would get into each other's face, and like they was getting ready to argue, but then he said, he raised his hand and said, "This is your moment," and all that. We will get straight to the next match, which is Austin Theory versus Rey Mysterio for the United States Championship. This was a better match than the Miz versus LA Knight, but still like a tough match. It was still like not as good. Like this match did not feel like it was a good follow up to even the first match. Like both this match and the Miz match did not feel like a good follow up to the Becky Lynch. So far we still haven't had a good solid follow up. But none of these matches were bad. It was just didn't feel like they was the tone that was set with Becky Lynch and it wasn't being met. Rey Mysterio and Austin Theory will actually have a pretty good solid match though. With nice spots. Rey Mysterio looked good. You could tell the difference between Rey Mysterio putting people over and Rey Mysterio actually being competitive, and it showed here because LA Knight and Rey Mysterio actually had a competitive match, whereas it wasn't just a match to make Austin Theory look good and put over. This was just actually now you two go out there and just basically look good and have a competitive match. That's what it looked like, and it was a solid good match with Rey Mysterio taking the victory and retaining the United States Championship, being celebrated by and joining celebration with the end of the LWO. We would get Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus Finn Balor and Damian Priest for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships. Now, this match, it wasn't the second match or the third match. This match actually was a good follow-up. We finally got the first good follow-up to the first match of the night with this match, and this match was damn good. I mean, it was hard-hitting, brutal. Kevin Owens got busted open. I mean, now this lived up to a hardcore street fight match. This is a match that like they even mentioned in the match that this would be a match that Taylor Funk would be proud of, and it was a rarity because we got to see Corey Graves actually be a face commentator, because he was actually rooting for Kevin Owens, when they was because they was representing the Pittsburgh, I think there was the Ducks or something like that. I forgot their hockey team. And when Finn Balor disrespected, because it was like a towel, they said it is the most sacred thing. Corey Graves was saying when he stumped on it, Corey Graves turned into a face commentator, and it was a refreshing thing to hear on commentators, just two babyface commentators on top of a good match, but with an unsuspecting, if you haven't already seen the news, finish. Thanks to some interference from both Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio, the Judgment Day really did walk out with all the gold, as the Judgment Day is Finn Balor and Damian Priest are your new WWE Undisputed Tag Team Champions. But wait, there is, but like I said, it was hardcore hitting. I mean, they use trash cans, tables, hockey sticks. They use all that type of stuff. And like I said, Kevin Owens did get busted open at one point and was bleeding pretty bad. Like his whole face was red. And it was bleeding pretty bad. We did get the next promo, which is the Grayson Waller effect, where Cody Rhodes and Grayson Waller did get into it a little bit, but they settled down, and and Cody explained to Grayson why he wanted to be on the show. But he had an announcement, and that announcement was that he pulled some strings to right a wrong that happened on SmackDown, and that wrong was he pulled the strings to add a new member to the Raw roster, and that would be Jay Main Event Uso. And Jay Uso would come out, and he also has new music. So basically, both Jimmy and Jay's music got new music. Jay's music is more of a remix of the Usos tag team entrance. Is more so of a remix. They got the same beat with some slight different beats to it, and he got like his Titantron's blue now, and it says Jay Main Event. It says Jay Uso. Sometimes Jay Main Event Uso. But yeah, he is now part of the Raw roster. So pretty much like how the Rey Mysterio angle went, where Rey Mysterio just left Raw to go to SmackDown. They did the same thing with Jay. He just, after having enough with the bloodline, he just left SmackDown and went to Raw. Grayson Waller would disrespect Jay, basically saying that everything, even though he accomplished everything to do as a tag team, as a single individual, he has done absolutely nothing, and that he thinks that he's ready for main event time, prime time, just because Cody said some nice things about him, and that if anybody need the Grayson Waller rub, it would be Jay Uso, and Jay would super kick Grayson Waller to end that segment. This should be interesting. My thoughts on Jay being on Raw is that this will be interesting. I want to see what they do with him, because they have the way they set this up. They have a unique story they could tell now with Jay being on Raw by himself, and they need, in my opinion, I don't know if you push him in the main event scene, but he's definitely should be a part of the Intercontinental or the World Heavyweight Championship thing, especially scene. Especially if you're going to call him main event Jay Uso. We would get Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez next for the Women's World Heavyweight Championship, and this was a good match. This match wasn't as good as the last match, which is the tag team match or the women's match that started off the show. but it was a solid good match. And this is where it was like up and down at this point. I'm like, wait a minute. So we just had. I thought this was the pickup portion. Now with the after the tag team match, every match is supposed to be just on that same level, if not on the level of the first match, and it just went back down again. Like, okay, this was just okay. Well, it was a good. Cause then the best thing that it didn't make Raquel look bad. She looked like a solid contender. Even with the loss, she still looked like a solid contender. And yes, that I just got straight to it. Rhea Ripley did win, but wasn't in like a quick match, but it wasn't in a long match. This match only went like, I want to say maybe 15, almost 20 minutes, but I wouldn't even say 20, but 15 to 16 minutes. But they did make Raquel look good. Rhea looked good. But thanks to some help from Dominic Mysterio, who, like they said in the show, was the MVP. He was the reason. He was the reason why him and then Rhea following suit would be the reason why he won the tag team championships, and he was the reason why Rhea retained her women's world championship. John Cena would cut another promo backstage, but basically now he said he went from being guest referee, now he was a backstage interviewer, and he interviewed the new champs of Damian Priest and Finn Balor, who basically said that they fight. He said they fight, but because they're brothers, but when they on the same page, they can't be stopped. And Judgment Day will always rise. And now that they had the tag team championship, they still got the Money in the Bank briefcase, which came into effect too for that championship match. That's one of the things Dominic did. I think he hit after that was about to lose. He hit while the referee was distracted. Oh, wait a minute. No, I forgot it was a hardcore match. I don't think the referee was distracted. And then he just hit him with the briefcase, and which allowed them to win. But, yeah. So they just basically covered the promo saying that they will always rise and be dominant. And then we get to the main event, which is Seth Rollins, or Seth freaking Rollins, versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the World Heavyweight Championship, which was an absolute banger of a match. And it went almost just as long as the first match. And this was just as the first match of the night was a solid good opening. This was a solid good main event, and it played. They did not make Shinsuke Nakamura look bad here. He looked good. He looked menacing. He looked like a threat. I would dare say he looked revigorated. Like we just invigorated Shinsuke Nakamura, and he looked like now he belongs. After this match, he belongs in the World Championship picture now. Like, he don't need to be in the mid card scene no more. This match, in my opinion, story wise, solidified that he could hang in the main event picture. So I hope this is not the last we see of Shinsuke Nakamura in the main event picture. They played up the back injury from Seth Rollins. Shinsuke Nakamura did take advantage of it. There was nice submissive holds, but mostly Shinsuke, once the match really got going, after the fill out portion, Shinsuke dominated for the most part, taking advantage of Seth Rollins' back, playing up the injury, which is a real injury. So I don't know how much of it in the match that it was real and what was staged, but it is a real injury that Seth Rollins have. But they used it to tell the story, and Seth Rollins would, like I said, would get dominated for a good portion of the match, but then eventually would come back, fighting back. There was a lot of reversals, which culminated into a reversal into the stomp, and Seth Rollins is still your champion. So only one championship or tag team championship change. That's the only match where a champion lost and new champions was crowned. This was a solid, good pay-per-view. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10 big ups because it was above average and it was above a O. Above 6 is okay. A 7 was good. This was like the 7 was 6 is the 6 is okay. 7 was good. This was a great pay per view, but not a perfect pay per view or awesome pay per view. But it was a solid good. It was a solid 8. And I enjoyed it. But you let me know in the comments down below what you think of WWE Payback 2023. And if you enjoy my review, you know what to do. Hit that button right there for all of my WWE reviews. And if you enjoy the video so much, you want to support the channel, hit those buttons. And as always, hit any one of these videos for more of my amazing content. But don't go anywhere. I got more. I think I got the review for the Equalizer 3 and some more reactions coming your way. Peace.